Good evening, debate enthusiasts, and good evening, everyone. It is great to have you all here on this Sunday evening. I am Sai Rajesh, the moderator of today's debate, and I welcome you all on behalf of HDC, Hyderabad Debating Community. So let me cut the chase and quickly explain the format of the debate. There are two teams with two people each, and the motion for today's debate has been communicated to the team members well in advance. The motion for today's debate is e-learning does more harm than good. So before the debate starts, I have already asked the judges to cast their votes, and thank you, judges, for already doing so. Now, the process is going to be as follows. I am going to call the captains from both the teams, and then they will flip a coin, and the winner of the toss will get to choose if he or she wants to go for the motion or against the motion, and the captain and the team that loses the toss will get to decide if they would want to go first in the speaking order or second. Based on the toss, we get to decide the proposition and the opposition team. And the debate is going to have 3 rounds as follows. The first round is called introduction round, in which one person from both the proposition and the opposition team gets to speak for 3 minutes each, and then they can set their initial arguments up. After the completion of the first round, the team members are going to have a 5-minute strategic break in which they are going to be sent to the breakout rooms in which they can strategize their plan for the next rounds. And once they're back, we are going to have an interjection round in which both the speakers from both the teams are going to speak for again 3 minutes each. And then we are going to have a strategic break, but this time for 3 minutes. And then we are going to have one speaker from both the teams to present their conclusion arguments for three and a half minutes this time. The speaking order is going to be as follows, based on the toss, obviously. The proposition team speaker number 1 is going to speak at the beginning for 3 minutes, followed by opposition 1, and the exact opposite depending on the toss. And then after the 5-minute break, we are going to have proposition 1, followed by opposition 1, proposition 2, followed by opposition 2, and then the 3-minute break, and then the conclusion round for the proposition and the opposition team. So after the 3 rounds of the debate, we are going to have a Q&A session in which the audience or the judges can ask a maximum of 2 questions per team. I'm sorry, debaters, you cannot question each other. This is only for the audience and the debater and the audience and the judges. And then we are going to have a fact checker report for 5 minutes. And then the second round of voting is going to happen in which the judges are going to cast their votes, and subsequently we are going to decide the result of the debate. The timing for the debate is going to be as follows. In the introduction and interjection round, for the first minute, we are going to the timer is going to display a white card. At the end of 1 minute, you will have a green card displayed. And then at the end of 2 minutes, you will have a yellow card. And after 3 minutes, you will be force muted. In case of the conclusion round, the first minute is going to have a white card. The second minute is going to have a green card. And at the end of 3.5 minutes, we are going to force mute you. If I may ask the captains from respective teams to come up for the flip of a coin, for the toss. So yes, who's going to volunteer? Vijay or Tejasvi?
Vijay wants to.
Okay, sure. I can.
Vijay, are you going to call?
Yes.
Cool, Vijay. So what do you want to go for it?
Heads.
Cool. All right, it's a tail. So Tejaswini, you have won the toss.
And we are going for the motion.
You're going
Proposition.
further
Further.
motion. Cool. So you, Tejaswini and Vishwajit are going to be team proposition, and Vijay and Charan are going to be team opposition. Vijay, would you like to go first in the order of speaking or second?
You prefer second.
Good evening, everyone. Now I have gone for the proposition of the motion, which is e-learning does more harm than good. So what I think is there must be an equality of opportunity according to which is a basic principle of Indian Constitution. And by this, because of this e-learning, only some section of people get benefited, not all are getting benefited. For example, urban people has more internet access when compared to rural people. And by this, I mean that one size doesn't fit for all. So by this COVID-19 breakout, many of the schools and colleges are forced to go online to ensure the students doesn't miss their studies. So that the education system has faced tough, which has gone never before, and many of the students has left the schools because they can't access to the smartphones and the computer screens in rural areas. And among when compared, according to this one surveys conducted in 2018, 17, and 19, which has showed that 15% of the uh, which have showed that 15% of the rural Indian households has internet, and when compared to the urban people. When coming to that, it also leads to the e-learning also leads to the lack of health by which all lack of health, which leads to anxiety issues and ADHD issues, and which also causes depression. And where the education is also included in right to education for all, which comes under the Article 21. So by e-learning, which many of the people cannot accessing, so there is a contradiction to this article and this right. So, and the government has provided for e-learning opportunities also, but it is not reaching to the rural people. And there is a lack of technology access. And there is a health and eye issues for
Yeah. So hello everyone. Let me walk you through the evolution and journey of education and learning. In the olden times, learning was primarily focused on teaching values, principles, and skills from parents. Then it changed to learning from gurus in and around the forest with live activity-based learning. Then teaching shifted under the trees. Then it shifted within the four walls. Then educators started with a chalkboard, chalkpiece, and a board. Then it also moved to charts, then projectors, and everything. So this is all the evolution. So transformation happened time on time, and every time we embrace that change. So these transformations happened in the past to scale up, to simplify, and to increase and to accommodate the increasing knowledge that we are consuming in every day. And with this form of e-learning, we are able to scale up more, simplify more, and deliver great content to a wider audience. That being said, I want to state the difference between e-learning, online learning, and distance learning. So e-learning is something which utilizes digital technologies for teaching and learning, and the technology facilitates the learning process. It can be both online and offline as well. Students will have limited access to the content, and the internet is not a requirement when it comes to e-learning. It can be in form of CDs, it can be in form of digital videos and all. Distance learning, it involves online learning. The specific purpose is to attract students from all the locations. People can attend classes once in a month and exams can be mostly offline. And when it comes to online learning, the name itself indicates that internet is a requirement. It includes live, virtual, face-to-face interactions and all. So the shape of this debate will be decided by understanding the meaning of this e-learning. So e-learning is nothing but a way we learn in an enhanced way. So as said by Amir Khan in 3 Idiots, anything which simplifies human process is called a machine. Like I want to extend that definition to e-learning as well. Anything which is simplifying human learning and enhancing the applicability is called e-learning. So there are myriad of benefits. Like e-learning accommodates everyone's needs, whether it is a homemaker, whether it is a student, whether it is a busy man. So he can take the course at his convenience, at his availability. Lectures can be listened to any number of times. With online e-learning, we can access unlimited number of times. How many of you face this challenge? Like when you are listening to a class and you miss some point that teacher says and you lost the whole content. This happens, right? So with e-learning, you can visit the course number of times, quick deliver of lessons. When it comes to offline practices, the teachers try hard to cater to every student. But when it comes to online, the lessons are delivered quickly to the students. So many other benefits of e-learning include scalability, consistency, effectiveness, and that said by the opposition. Catering to the rural people, I think rural people have only specific set of learnings that are decided in the rural people, but they don't have access to wide range of internet sources. So internet is one thing that is helping them to access to a greater resources and greater things. Hence, I would
Good evening, everyone. I'm Vishwajit, proportion one. And yeah, I'd like to ask a few questions for the opposition too, which he recently said that, internet is not really accessible for everyone. Like, yeah, what you said is absolutely right, because not everyone is having an internet connection, and the rural area people are unable to have an internet connection, which makes it difficult to even have an online class. And yeah, e-learning doesn't really have a lot of options. That is my opinion. Why? Because you're not getting robotics. I mean, you don't get a specific field that you want to study in, and also it lacks a bit of accreditation. What do you say about this? Okay, so we are having current degrees, and there are fields that are out of reach. Well, not everyone are having access to that, and some universities are not providing accreditation. You do receive certificates and you do receive something on completion of a course, but they are not validated everywhere. I mean, you could go to a company and show them this certificate. You could have a certificate from Harvard, but they are not accepting it because a few people are calling them fake or invalid. The other point I would like to raise is we do have exams and we do have classes, but it is also promoting cheating. I mean, would you really trust a doctor who passes online exam in your future? I don't. And yeah, time management and flexibility is really hard with e-learning. That's it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, everyone. If there's one thing that I could not help but notice today, it is the proportion team's disregard, blatant disregard for anything that is logical, reasonable, and viable. And if there's one thing that I'd have to pinpoint and say that this is something that's missing in your argument, I'd have to point out their entire argument. A few of the less honorable mentions from the honorable opposition today include the following. Firstly, right to education is an equality of opportunity. True, I truly agree with this. Now I'll tell you a story and tell me, and this will probably answer this question of that question of yours. Long ago, not so long ago, there lived an old man, a poor old man who was a farmer. He had two sons. and he could not afford to educate both of them. He asked one of them to go study, and he asked the other one to become a farmer. The first one did study, and then he became a civil servant. The other one did not. He ended up being a farmer. And the son of the person who became a civil servant is now the CEO of Microsoft. Just because he was not able to afford the education for both the people, that old man that day did not say, let's ban education for everyone. Education is an equalizer. If there is anything that e-learning is doing, it's providing a better opportunity for people to become better, to reach the class that's above them. That is the reason why I think their argument is just hypocritical. Now, talking about the other arguments that have been put forward by the proposition team, they have been talking about lack of health. They have talked about anxiety, ADHD, depression, eye issues, etc. One question: is it because of e-learning that all of these things are happening, or is it because of other priorities that these things are happening? You talk as if the root cause of all these problems is e-learning. It is not the root cause. It's because of something else. Let's say you spend 30 minutes on something else, and let's say you spend 5 hours watching Netflix, and you spend 10 minutes on this. You cannot say that this is the root cause of that thing. And they're talking about internet connectivity. Let's say there's no internet connectivity. You put efforts to make sure that the internet accessibility is better. You do not you do not go out and ban e-learning. So those are the arguments that I have for now. With that being said, I'd like to hand over the stage back to your moderator, Sai Rajesh.
As the opposition team said, that right to education and has given some example, but government has made it as a fundamental right, so that everyone has to be educated, and the children of 5 to up to the age of 16 are compulsory need to be educated, and the government is providing that. And in the name of e-learning, children are watching the porn and children are watching the porn, and India stood in the third place in the lockdown after US and UK by 2020. And according to the report Internet and Mobile Association of India, there are at present 32% of active internet users, whereas in rural areas, it is much less than the 32%. And the children, mostly children are the most active internet users, and the most of the age group contains the 3 to 18 years, that is the 95% of age group, and 65 and 66 million about the age group of 5 to 11 age can access around the globe around the internet user. And this was killing the time and the school result and the progress of their results. And they are in the name of e-learning, they are chatting, playing games, and while playing games, they are undergoing some risk also. There was a wacky chat for a gamer, a Discord wacky chat. That's an app. So there was a monthly 150 million active users. So people used to get connected to the other players, and they chat with them, and they are sexually abused, sexually exploited and abused. And there was an app of Deep Nude that will undress the photos of a person who is man or woman. And even the Twitter Twitter has undergone hacking because of lack of rule enforcement, and both platform and governance, because of lack of governance and platform and rule enforcement. And most social media sites has to be under supervised. Most chat rooms are filled with fake profiles, and which may
So yeah, wonderful point said by the proposition team. there were two great points that I would like to oppose immediately. When it comes to accessibility of this e-learning into the rural areas, there are many other problems than just this accessibility. Lack of proper student to teacher ratio, lack of quality teachers were certain bigger issues than this thing. With the help of this online e-learning, we can provide consistent education to the whole universe. The same course can be accessed by the people in the rural areas and in the urban areas. And other point, the accreditation that is highlighted by one of the team members. Well, the accreditation, well, I agree with the point, but when it comes to offline things also, there are many bigger disadvantages than this online examination. There are correction fallacies. They are all government. Like, when was the last time that you have given any exam offline? Like, in the last 2 years, all government exams are now conducted online itself, because they believe in this technology and they believe in this process. And it also makes them simplify to correct all the people at once. And when it comes to fallacies, university also don't accept when there is a fallacy in your marks and counting. And speaking about the other disadvantages such as distractions, I think when you are in isolation, you can focus more. Your environment will be stable and you can design your own environment. When it comes to school, there is a lot of stress that is going on. For example, an average student spends around 40 minutes in urban area while traveling to school. He carries around 10 to 12 kgs of books while he's traveling to school, and he hardly plays any sports to relieve his stress. And even a seventh class student know the meaning of stress while moving and commuting and sitting in there for hours and hours. There is a study taken by the number of hours spent by a student in school, and one of the senator in US said that a quality time, even it is small, spent in school would be advantageous to students rather than spending long hours in schools. So there are certain instances where schools start at 8 p.m. and they go to combined studies and they go to tuitions and come back to home at again 8 p.m. So these are the kind of stress that student is going on nowadays. And in this online environment, provides his flexibility and learning on his own pace rather than creating stress. And speaking about other distractions such as social media and other etc. said by our opposition, these are not something new. They were there in the past and they're existing now. See, if a student wants to learn, he can learn in any environment, not just in a school environment, not just in a virtual environment. So where there is a will, there is a way. As said, students can learn in any kind of environment that is being provided. And health issues, these are again major important. So speaking about the competition also, there is healthy competition that exists in an online environment. So the whole globe is the audience in an online environment. Students can learn with each other. Students can make connections with the international students and can learn tips and tricks from international platforms as well. So I think online education is more better than offline education, which gives convenience, simplicity, and enhances usability. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. We're back, and I'd like to answer and talk about a few points that the opposition one has raised previously. So, the first point, he was talking about a farmer who had an access to the internet and he got to become the CEO of Microsoft, right? So, that farmer got lucky. I mean, what about the others? I mean, where is the whole internet? The rural areas are not getting internet and they don't have necessary gadgets or phones or iPads or whatever. So where is the internet? And not everyone has access to the internet, and this is not possible everywhere. So that's it. Like this is not applicable to everyone. And the second point is we did not say anything about banning e-learning. We all we said was it is better when compared to the online classes, because offline classes students can pay more attention than online classes. And yeah, the points raised by the opposition are really cool to hear, but they're not applicable and they're not worthy everywhere. And the third point I would like to raise is language barriers. I mean, most of these lessons or courses are given in English. I mean, like not everyone can speak English. Can you just tell me like how many of the courses or online classes are being told in Telugu or Hindi or whatever the language they're comfortable in? See, you could say that you could. It's hard to find a teacher who can teach me a Japanese in Telugu. So you get a Japanese teacher online, but you can't speak English, and that teacher is going to translate the Japanese into English. That is going to be a problem. And yeah, and a few points raised by the opposition too are we are getting internet everywhere, and it's better to have it online. So again, gadgets are required, and not everyone are getting gadgets or necessary things to attend those. And yeah, online exams and all, opposition to raise that online exams are better and they are being held everywhere. That is also leading to cheating. I mean, I wouldn't trust a doctor who cheated on his exam, and I wouldn't trust a doctor who completed his MBBS with an online certification. And yeah, the third point was about isolation leads to more concentration. Well, I say that isolation leads to an introvert child, because when you're directly sitting in a class, you're making friends and you're the best version of yourself. But when you're in isolation, that just leads to mental health, bad mental health, and makes a kid into an introvert. And yeah, people pay more attention in offline classes than online classes, and we say that offline is way better than online. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, everyone. Luck favors the brave. That is how I'm going to answer the first question of yours, proportion team member. Now, education is the most powerful weapon that you can use to change the world, said Nelson Mandela. But I ask you today, does everyone have equal access to this powerful weapon? No. The rich go to Harvard or Stanford. The poor go to factories or industries. To the rescue of the unfulfillable dreams of these poor has come a great innovation, e-learning, offering them a glimmer of hope in achieving the unachievable. E-learning is a true equalizer of education. Be it a kid residing in a war-inflicted country like Syria, or be it a kid suffering from any disorder that deters him or her from going to a school, or be it a normal kid, all of them can e-learn. Just imagine what would have been the plight of 1.5 billion children around the world if they had no access to e-learning. Well, unimaginable, isn't it? That is our reason one. E-learning is a true equalizer of education. Now, other reasons as to why we believe that e-learning causes more good than harm. Better retention. The Research Institute of America found that e-learning increases retention rates 25% to 60%, while retention rates of face-to-face learning are very low in comparison. That is 8 to 10%. Good for environment. E-learning is good for environment. Sounds preposterous, crazy, isn't it? Well, Britain's Open University study found that producing and providing e-learning courses consumes an average of 90% less energy and produces 85% fewer CO2 emissions per student than conventional face-to-face courses. E-learning is flexible learning. E-learning is cost-effective learning. You might think this, or the proportion team might point out that human touch is missing in e-learning. I just have one thing to say. This pandemic has shown to us who we really are, that our creativity will not be hindered by borders. We started this SDC when there was no human touch. I have made friends whom I've not met until now. Think about it. You do not need human touch. What you need is a person who stands by you in times of need. Now, e-learning offers the best of both the worlds. It offers us a plethora of benefits. Now, I just have one thing to say. It offers us flexibility, scalability, consistency, cost effectiveness, and whatnot. E-learning does not offer what classroom learning offers to us. It offers us something better. And Pan and the other thing, I'm not even going to dignify those comments of yours with a response. According to me, accept this or not, you would definitely have to accept that e-learning does more harm than, sorry, e-learning does more good than harm. That is it. I rest my case. Over to you, Mr. Moderator.
this is the time for the audience and the judges. So if you're ready with any questions that you would want to pose to either the proposition or the opposition team, this is the time. Feel free to ask any questions to any.
So I have a question for the opposition team.
All right.
So my question to the opposition team is, there are specific schools which provide education, not just to learn, but to have physical activities in particular. There are schools which make you a greater sportsman. How do you justify e-learning can actually give you that particular access where you don't have a physical touch? But how do you think that will help?
Well, we are not suggesting that e-learning replace classroom learning. We are just saying that e-learning is not harming. If you look at the motion for today's debate, it is e-learning does more harm than good. But is it truly doing more harm than good is the question that we are trying to answer. Now, yes, physical education is something that a lot of universities provide. And that's something that e-learning cannot do. We accept it. It's just that it is going to enhance our understanding of what's already being taught in classes. That is what we are trying to say. It is going to make your understanding of everything that you have understood better. That is the reason why we think e-learning is going to do more good than harm. Over to you, moderator, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Charan, for that. Next, so I have Sudan raising his hand. So Sudan, yes.
So my question is to the proposition team. I heard an argument which says there was a certificate that someone has got from Harvard online course, and that was marked as invalid by someone else, right? So even if my question is, even when the certificate is stated as invalid, don't you think the online courses from Harvard are adding value to people's lives and are helping them getting jobs and everything else?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So for that, I'd like to answer that are not completely invalid, but they are not being accepted everywhere. I mean, like, look at us right now. Like, out of 10 companies, only 2 people, I think, might be accepting that. Because, like, some people are falsifying, and some people say that, okay, you just attended on an online course. Like, how much value would that even bring to us, to our company? I mean, like, people just want for people to attend on offline college and have the practical knowledge and get their work done. People prefer people who have practical knowledge to the one who have this theoretical and online knowledge.
I hope that answered your question, Sudan. So next I have Lahari raising her hand. Lahari, please go on.
My question is for the opposition team. Now, we have seen that during COVID, majority of the classes has turned online classes, and also the bullying from the students towards the teachers has substantially increased. Do you think this is still adding value, or are the students losing their proper ethics or values, given that there is no one who can moderate what they are doing in online classes?
I'd like to take this.
Yeah, please go.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you so much, Larry, for asking that question. Everything that has been invented until now has 2 things: advantages, disadvantages. Now, I'll turn the table and just ask you the question that you asked me. There are 1.5 billion children who got who had to leave school. I mean to say leave school in the sense they couldn't go to school because of this COVID. What if there was no e-learning? I understand that this bullying thing is happening, but that does not mean that we say that e-learning is a bad thing. We'd have to find a solution to make sure that these people do not bully teachers. Everything has its pros and cons, but are we going to say that, are we just going to discount or dismiss something as bad just because it has a few disadvantages? Wouldn't that be unkind of us? Think about it. Over to you, Mr. Moderator.
Yes, Rajesh, I have a question.
Yes, sir, please go on.
To Tejaswini, or I mean, anybody can answer. The question is,
you are supposed to pose your question to the team as a whole.
Yes, proponent team. So they mentioned 32% of the users have internet access. So was that, I mean, is that 32% with respect to the entire population, or the people who need to have the access to this education or learning?
32% people are active internet users in India, according to the report of Internet and Mobile Association of India.
All right, that's in general.
Yeah, that was the report given by Internet and Mobile Association of India.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. So with that, we come to an end of the Q&A session. Now is the time for our fact checker to give out his report.
So I've had a wonderful time taking out notes from both the sides of the team, which is the proposition and the opposition. And I would like to quote few of the things which I noticed considering the amount of time that I had while in this discussion. Firstly, the proposition team, one of them mentioned that right to education is the basic principle of Indian Constitution at the beginning. So I was just going through the basic principles of Indian Constitution, and it notes down 8 specific basic principles of Indian Constitution, which is fundamental rights, secularism, popular sovereignty, federalism, socialism, judicial independence, cabinet government, and directive principles of state policy. So to mention, right to education is not a basic principle of Indian institution, but it is a part of the fundamental rights. They did mention that during the second part of the debate, where they had to talk about it, and I did go through that as well, where there are 7 ways, 7 in total fundamental rights. That is right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation. And then it comes to that one boiling factor which we were discussing about, that is right to constitutional remedies and right against education and cultural rights. So that was mentioned at a later part. So just for the proposition team to know, it is not a part of the basic rights of the principles of Indian Constitution. So having said that, proposition also team mentioned somewhere in the stats which said 15% of the rural houses have internet compared to urban. But as per the report in the print-in that was shared earlier, it says that 94% of the urban population has internet and 90% of the rural population has internet. So I didn't find the difference of 15% somewhere in the thing that you have mentioned. And also the proposition team mentioned Article 21 states that no, you mentioned specifically Article 21. So I had to quote what Article 21 is, which says no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty, except according to the procedures established by law. It is with regards to right to life and right to personal liability. But what exactly is the right one is Article 21A. You forgot to mention 21A. So that states the state shall provide free and compulsory education to all the children of the age of 3 to 18 years in such a manner and the state may by law determine. So next coming to the e-advantages, e-students advantages, proposition team did mention about opposition team mentioned about customizable learning environment, and it is time efficient. And these are actually found in estudents.org, one of the website. Accreditation is something which lacks importance. That was actually mentioned by the proposition team, and it is true that I could find it in skillscounter.com. That is, which is the disadvantages of e-learning, which they mentioned. Time management and also flexibility is hard. That is one of the point which was also covered there. So having said that, there was one of the point where it mentioned 3 to 18 years of age, somewhere close to 80% or 88%, if I'm not wrong, was quoted by the proposition team. But as per the report in one of the Queen Bay media survey, it states that 88% is correct, but it is in the age group of 18 to 29 who use the smartphones. And 78% is for 30 to 49 years and 64% is for 50 to 65 years. So there's one more point which opposition team has raised with regards to the weight of the school bags. And they said that the average school bag weighs around 10 to 12 kgs. But let me tell you, there was a constitution, especially a DOE, which is, I think, with regards to the education, where it says the average school bag should be around 1.6 to 2 kgs for class 1 to 2, 1.7 to 2.5 for class 3, 4, and 5, 2 to 3 for class 6 and 7, 2.5 to 4 to class 4 and 8, 2.5 to 4.5. And it is not more than or beyond 5 kgs as per the rules of it. So somewhere that stats probably might have gone wrong. And also opposition team has mentioned a farmer son has got access to education. There are 2 points here. One, I would like to talk about proposition and opposition. So proposition team was referring to a farmer's son who got access to e-learning. But actually the opposition team was talking about a farmer's son who got access to education. So there are completely 2 different streams. So that is something that is taken wrong by the proposition team. But the main important wrong thing here is that there's a farmer's son who got access to education. But nevertheless, let me tell you that farmer's son, his name is B.N. Yugender. He is an IAS officer, but not a farmer. And he is the father of Satya Nadella. And I don't believe I have seen any article with regards to Satya Nadella's brother. So I'm still very much not sure. I have to go through it and I have to research. So which ideally means that the opposition team has completely taken a wrong example of a person. However, B.N. Yugender has spent many years in India and the National Academy of Administration, first as a student, then as a junior faculty, and then later as its director. So that is it. That is the few facts which I collected over the discussions that we had. And I had
So judges, now is the time for you to vote again. So please cast your vote at the earliest, and so that I can post the results. This was our graph before the debate, and this is how it turned out after the debate. So yes, congratulations, team opposition. You have won this debate. It was a great debate. As a moderator, let me not make this a monologue, but audience and judges, you are free to have a conversation or to give out an opinion about the debates primarily. So let me ask all of you, how many of you believe that, as the word debate means, how many of you believe that a fight is necessary to convince the other person that, say, your perspective is better than the other's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, though I'm not a good speaker, but I always saw the impact of the speech, impact of the talk. So many people get influenced by that, and many people change, transform. So certainly we fight for our rights, right? So similarly, it's a fight for good things. So yeah, I can say that I endorse that. Yes, debate could be a fight.
Right. I mean, I guess it really depends. I really like debates. It's very interesting. I mean, I've been very interested in debates all the time. And I just don't believe realistically to convince, I mean, in the real world scenario, to convince your other side. Using a debate as just like presenting the facts and asking them to change their opinions is not, I don't believe that's a really effective way to convince others. So, other than that, like in a like academic setting or like a professional debate is a different thing. So that's what I mean.
All right, but then yeah, I think both the parties have to be open to, say, listening and understanding, right, in order to convince either themselves or each other.
Right. But when preparing for a debate, once you're trying to fight for the cause which is not your own belief, then you might, that's what I believe that is very useful as part of it.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity, and also for the participants who have really worked hard in collecting the facts. But here I would like to, throw some light upon the fact that e-learning has really gained so much harm. And I am a bit disappointed, even after the proposition team working so hard, still the result came out not in their favor. So the fact here is that we are unable, or we are missing the fact of scaffolding technique here.
Let us talk about HDC, Hyderabad Debating Community. Now, let me begin by answering the basic question that you might have. Why debate? Now, the fun fact is that the word debate has its origin from the Latin words disbatter. The words literally mean to fight. But we at HDC are polite, And we believe that the importance of opinion sharing, the importance of objectively asserting, and the importance of respecting others' perspective is central to effective interpersonal communication. That is what we at HDC believe. Now, if you ask why HDC, well, our vision answers that question. So our vision is to help individuals become better at listening to and critically analyzing the arguments and articulating their ideas with greater confidence. It has been more than 5 months since we have started the online debates,